Hey everybody, I'm here today to make a video of myself building a retaining wall with timbers. Now, my dad will be helping me out with this project, so you might see him within the video footage. And he is a really big do-it-yourselfer as well, and he really knows what he's doing. So basically, there is already a pre-existing retaining wall right here, as you can see, but it only goes halfway. And there was a different retaining wall over there, and it went the other half. Now I removed that portion of the retaining wall, and I'm going to be building a new retaining wall with 4x4 timbers in front of this retaining wall and where that one was before. So basically, as you can see right here, there is some limestone that I have compacted down on the ground, and that is basically where I will be putting the retaining wall. And that line right there is my guide for the depth. So I have the timbers and all of the materials over there, and once again they are 4 inches by 4 inches, just to clarify. And the first step is to create this base that I have created here, and I have put a few inches of limestone down and I have compacted it. And that is basically the first step, because I want this retaining wall to be definitely want it to be sturdy. So in order to have a sturdy retaining wall, you definitely need a sturdy and firm base. Alright, so the next step is to create the first layer of the timbers for the retaining wall. So basically, myself and my father will be laying down one row of timbers all the way across. And then we will obviously make sure that they are level, and then we will be drilling holes in those timbers, and then we will be taking this rebar and using a hammer to drive the rebar through the timbers into the ground. So basically, the rebar is what will be holding the timbers in place. So that's the next thing that we are going to do. We are going to create the first layer for the retaining wall. Alright, so as you can see, we have laid down the first row of the timbers, and we actually had to dig down quite a bit over there. We had to dig a little trench because it wasn't level, and that's why my dad over here, this guy, is the master, because he made it level. So we are going to basically make sure that everything is level, and then drill some holes for the rebar and start hammering the rebar through the wood into the ground to secure the wood in place. Alright, so as you can see, we have completely leveled the base layer of timbers, and we started drilling holes in the timbers, and we hammered the rebar just enough to start going into the ground. And we're going to continue doing this until we have finished starting all of the rebar, and then we will completely hammer all of the rebar into the ground, and then we can start on the next layers of the timbers. We just finished hammering the rebar through the wood into the ground, and as you can see, the rebar is no longer sticking up from the wood. So it is completely ready for the next layer. Now basically, now that the base has been established, we are just going to do layer by layer, one layer at a time, and continue the retaining wall. And basically, we are going to stagger the joints of the timbers. So we had done full pieces of timber up until here, and then we had a cut piece on this end. So now what we're going to do for the next layer is we're going to start on this end with a full piece of timber and do full pieces of timber all the way until we can no longer fit a full piece, and then we will be putting a cut end on that side. So the first cut end, the cut end of the base layer is on this side, the cut end of the second layer is going to be on that side, third layer on this side, fourth layer on that side, and so forth. So that's what we are going to be doing now. The hardest part is done. Establishing the base was definitely the hardest part. So now all that we have to do is put a new piece of wood, put a new piece of timber on top, drill some pilot holes for the nails, and then hammer some nails in. and these are 8 feet. The full pieces of timber are 8 feet, and I will be using 3 nails for each of the full pieces, and the cut piece at the end is just short of 4 feet roughly, so I will only be using 2 nails for the cut piece. So that's what we will be doing right now. Alright, so as you can see, the retaining wall is coming along nicely, and this is the progress up until now. You can see that we have basically done 6 rows, and unfortunately we couldn't finish the 6th row because I ran out of wood. So I am going to finish the 6th row and then do 2 additional rows to finish this retaining wall. And I have to go and get some more wood and then finish building the final layers of the retaining wall. And my dad had to leave, so I will be finishing the last portion of the retaining wall myself, but he helped me through almost the entire thing, and he really is great at DIY stuff. He really knows how to do pretty much anything himself. So that's the progress up until now. I'm gonna go and get some more wood, and then I will be back shortly as I continue the retaining wall and show you the rest of the progress. Alright, so I finished installing the final layers of the retaining wall last night. But by the time that I had finished, it was quite dark outside, and I didn't want to film this video clip in the dark. So this is the morning after. This is the following morning, and that's why it may look like the weather has changed. So I am really happy with the way that the retaining wall turned out. It looks really good, and it is actually 52 feet long, 52 feet wide, just for the record. So it is definitely a big retaining wall. And although the actual building portion of the retaining wall has been finished, there are a few things that I have to do in order to finish the project. So the first thing that I will be doing now that I have finished building the retaining wall is I will be putting a vapor barrier back here to prevent the dirt and the water from damaging the back portion of the wood for the retaining wall. Then I will be putting a weeping tile along the bottom to handle any excess water, and the weeping tile will basically allow the water to drain away properly. Once I have finished with the vapor barrier and the weeping tile, I will be reinforcing the retaining wall. So as you can see right now, it's pretty sturdy, but it moves a little bit. So I need to reinforce it in 2 ways. I need to reinforce it in a way that prevents it from moving that way, and I need to reinforce it in a way that prevents it from moving this way. So the way I will reinforce it for the way that prevents it from moving that way by backfilling all of this with soil and dirt and so forth. So basically, when it has been backfilled with soil, the soil will be against the retaining wall, obviously with the vapor barrier in between, and the retaining wall will no longer be able to be pushed that way. Now, to prevent it from being pushed this way, I need to create some support brackets and support systems. And to do that, I will simply be using a few pieces of wood and some L brackets to secure the retaining wall against the dirt and so forth. So I will basically be driving a piece of wood into the dirt, connecting that piece of wood to the retaining wall with some screws and L brackets, and that will hold it from being pushed this way. So that's basically it. Those are the final things that I have to do to complete this retaining wall project. But the actual building portion of the retaining wall has been completed, and it was a fairly simple process. We laid down the base. Like I said, myself and my father, we laid down the base, drove some rebar through the wood into the ground of the base layer. So only the base layer involves rebar, and then with each additional row we just staggered the joints of the timbers and used some 6-inch nails to keep all of the additional rows in place. And that was basically it. The process is fairly simple. The process was fairly simple, and I wanted to make this video to document the process of building this retaining wall in my backyard. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.